This is for the Huffington Post Facebook Talk to Me program. My name is Matthew Schwartz, and I will be interviewing my father, Stephen Schwartz. Hello.
Hello, Matthew. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Can you tell me, why did you become a Muslim?
Well, it's a paradox. I became a Muslim. I didn't have a religious background. I had not been brought up in any religion. I sort of thought I was Jewish, but in fact, I learned when I was 21 that I wasn't Jewish because my mother wasn't Jewish, and my parents had not given me any religious education at all. In fact, I'd been christened in the Presbyterian Church when I was born, but I had no religious education. I was looking for the roots of California. That's the paradox. We know when we grew up in California that California has two faces, in a sense. Its Anglo-American face and its Hispanic face. So I became interested in the Hispanic history of California, and then I became interested in Latin America and became involved in Latin American affairs. And then I went to Spain. I took you to Spain when you were 21.
Yes. Showed
you Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
And as the 1980s ended and 1990s began, I began to observe the situation in Yugoslavia, which was the first communist country to really fall apart. And I heard some very interesting things. One was that that there were still some Spanish-speaking Sephardic Jews living in Bosnia. That interested me from a cultural point of view. And then the Bosnian War began, and it was a situation that was very distressing to me because actually when the war began in 1992, I had already visited Bosnia. And Bosnia was a country where Muslims, Catholic Croatians, and Orthodox Serbs had gotten along more or less for quite a while. And the war drove them apart. The Serbian aggression drove them apart. And I became very concerned with this situation, but I also became much more interested in Islam. I had tried to learn about Islam in the United States, but had not been very successful. I think most Muslims thought I was a radical Zionist type because of my stereotypically Jewish last name.
That was trying to infiltrate or something, or?
Yeah, they didn't feel they had any reason to talk to me.
Okay.
But Bosnian Islam is very European. It's very open. You saw something similar when we went to Kosovo in Albanian Islam there. It's very European.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I began to learn about Islam. And I began to ask people who I met who had fought in the war. I said, why didn't you do terrorism against the Serbs? Because we had this idea that Islam teaches terrorism. I still have this idea that Islam somehow encouraged terrorism. Mm-hmm. I asked them, why didn't you do to them what they did to you, since the Serbs had killed tens of thousands of Bosnian Muslims, wiped out whole villages, whole families.
Children?
Oh, yeah. Many children killed, many thousands of women raped, mosques blown up. And the Bosnian Muslims kept saying to me that they weren't going to do to their enemies what had been done to them, because they weren't fighting for jihad. They weren't fighting for the triumph of Islam over other religions. They were fighting for the right to live together with their neighbors. Well, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And I read the Quran, and there was a passage in the Quran in which is slightly different from the Torah, the Jewish Bible, where Moses kills an Egyptian man who's beating a Jewish man. And in the Quran, Moses, peace be upon him, as we say in Islam, Moses prays to Allah and says, oh God, I broke your law, I killed a man, what is my punishment? And God says, you killed a man and you broke the law, but that was to defend your brother, so I forgive you. And Musa, his name in Islam, says, oh Allah, because you've forgiven me, I swear I will never serve an oppressor. And I was standing there on the street in Sarajevo reading this from my English language Quran, and I said, now I found my religion.